Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today, we are sitting down with Tosha Wilson, Jaqui White, and Tiffini Holmes, who are co-developers of the Aux, which is a planned commercial hub dedicated to racial equity and wellness in Evanston. The Auxiliary Cord LLC, that's the actual name of the company, purchased a 16,000 square foot warehouse located at 2223 Washington Street in Evanston, and they plan to fully renovate this building, converting it into a commercial hub for Black-owned small businesses and organizations that focus on community wellness. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Oh, it's a real pleasure, and I think this is such an interesting project. I love the wellness focus of it, and the entrepreneurship of it, and bringing racial equity. You have so many good motivations here, and it's a big undertaking. What got you all started in thinking about this and creating the Aux?
Well, the Aux came about pretty authentically. It was not on purpose. Tiffini, and she'll be able to describe like her history in wellness and her company with Wellbeing Chicago, but we had no intention of the Aux separately. And together, Jaqui and I were creating the Laundry Cafe, and we got denied a loan. It was like a story about, why aren't we getting loans compared to other people, et cetera, et cetera. And we started getting some, being in the newspaper. We're on the news, and we met a woman named Lori Lazar and another woman named Julie Kaufman from Milwaukee, and Julie's with Fixed Development. And we just started talking, honestly. We just started talking. We talked about wellness and Lori's passion for wellness. Lori met Tiffini. Tiffini explained her passion for wellness, and it just became a just organic conversation on, what can we do to bring wellness to one place? And that is how the conversation of the Aux came about. And Tiffini can tell you her history on wellness because it's decades long. And she's worked really hard. She's written books, and, I'm introducing her because she's just that girl. But I want her to explain like her passion for wellness and how it all blended into the Aux.
Yeah. So, Tiffini, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I'll try and sum it up because Tosha mentioned that it has been decades more than a decade in the making. My passion for wellness started when I began my own wellness journey. I have lost 160 pounds to date. And what I realized in doing that is that wellness is so much more than diet and exercise. There's a mental component, there's an emotional component, social, financial, and so much of that was not being talked about in the world, no matter what size you were. It was always about diet and exercise and this look, and that wasn't it at all. And so to be able to find a career path for myself, I started my first business, Total Transformation Solutions, being a health coach, helping people to realize that what's wellness for you? What are the things you need? Do you need stress management? Do you need weight loss? Do you need help with anxiety? What are the things that plague you? And how can I help with that? Turning that all the way back into the Aux, I also have a passion for entrepreneurship and Black business in particular. And so when Tosha and Jaqui were pursuing the Laundry Cafe, I was all in, like, how can I help? What can we do? Tosha started boosting Black business in order to help do that for other entrepreneurs. And then my trainer and business partner, Jabori Partee, also knew Lori Lazar and was talking to Lori about this idea that she had. And it was just an idea at that time. I was meeting Tosha at a restaurant. Lori and Jabori and Julie were at the same restaurant. So then I met them. Jaqui and Tosha are already connected. And so then we all came together and created the Aux to fulfill all of our needs, to house the Laundry Cafe, to house other businesses, and really to remove that barrier to entry for small businesses, in this case, in the wellness space, but also to create a model that's already been created, but one that can be repeatable for different industries.
Yeah, it seems like it's a natural type of combination of wellness businesses. The laundromat I want to get to, because that's not something somebody would necessarily think of. But I mean, in your journey of wellness, I mean, how did you come to this to realize that there's another way of looking at it, and looking at the all-encompassing part of a human?
Again, that was the personal experience. What I realized was, for as phenomenal as my trainer was, and these modifications that he was helping me make to my body, there was something else that was happening to me mentally and emotionally. I never had issues with confidence at 400 pounds. Suddenly, I'm at like 275, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are people looking at me? When I go out with my friends, are they judging me because now I'm ordering different and they're ordering something that's still fattening or whatever? Do they think that I'm acting strange? And I was like, where is this stuff coming from?
Yeah.
And then also understanding the length of the journey. The ultimate goal for me is to lose 200 pounds. I've been doing this. This is going into the 13th year. So to the longevity that it takes when the scale stops moving and you're doing all the right things. How do you mentally prepare yourself for that? How do you continue to go on with that? And what I realized was, as I started to talk to other people, it's the same thing when you're losing 20 pounds. When you've lost the weight and your body still doesn't look the way you want. And so how do we make these healthy habits just the things to do so that we can be well, so that our blood pressure is normal, so that our cholesterol is at a manageable place, so that we're happy when we wake up throughout the day and when we go to bed.
Yeah. And, is one of the reasons why you wanted to be in a, Black community focused wellness center, because are these issues sometimes not talked about as much within the community? Or, I mean, are there different, do you see a lot of similar type businesses to what you're doing?
So health coaching is not new.
Yeah.
I think it's actually becoming more prevalent now as people are becoming more gentle with themselves and looking beyond their external. I think what's unique to the Black community is seeing someone like me, and well, to the wellness industry anyway, to seeing someone who looks like me, who still presents like, oh, she probably needs to lose a few pounds, being an expert on the subject, and not just that, being sensitive to cultural norms, right? When I go see a nutritionist, she's probably a woman, probably never had a weight issue, probably white. And so then she's going to talk about foods that are part of my culture that need to be eliminated, not modified, not cut back, but completely cut out. And for a lot of homes and families, that's just not realistic. And so I think that I also bring not just the book knowledge and the personal experience, but the cultural awareness that makes me a little bit more relatable.
Yeah, I think that's important. You have to be able to relate to your clientele. And I think that's important to have, an option that doesn't exist right now. And I think that's, it's unique and important. But, to get back a little bit to the starting of the Aux, you started with the idea of a laundromat. Jaqui, how did that start?
Well, it actually started through Tosha. It was her idea. She
Yeah.
had seen some things online in terms of non-traditional laundromats where it's more comfortable and more of a community environment where, you have to do your laundry, but you have to do it in a place that is cold and has hard seats and whatnot.
Looks like it's from the 1970s, every
Right.
single one of them.
Exactly. So, the images she was coming across were comfortable. They were welcoming. And so she brought that idea to me, and we were looking in the 5th Ward in Evanston, which at the time didn't have a laundromat. And I thought, this is a great idea, that whether it's the 5th Ward or anywhere, this is something that we have to do, and if we can make it a pleasant experience, why not? And especially for our community, we like to come together. And that's a wellness piece as well, social wellness, being able to belong and come, and you have to do your laundry. You're doing it in a nice environment. It's a routine, and we get into our routines, and that's a nice welcoming space.
Yeah, The only when I was in college, I went to University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and I remember one of the laundromats had a bar in it. So they met their clientele where they needed to be. So I think yours, I don't think it has a bar, but you're trying to do things in the wellness framework. So you started to create a laundromat. You hit a hurdle with getting financing to open it up. And then that leads to a bigger idea of the Aux. I mean, so how have you seen anything like this? Is there an example that you're taking this from?
Not from the wellness component, but from the financial aspect of it and how we're going about it with real estate. We'll call ourselves the little sister or little brother of the Sherman Phoenix in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So the Sherman Phoenix came about after a police shooting. A white officer shot a young black man, and social unrest ensued up in Milwaukee in about 2016, I believe. And several buildings were burned down, and that included an old BMO bank. And so after, the fires put out, we have, they have a bunch of empty buildings, and the community came together and took that BMO bank and made it into a space where there's 30 plus black owned businesses. And I believe there's one white owned business, and they just happen to be from Evanston. So we thought that was cool when we went up there. So just to walk in and see what we've never really seen before this close to home. Like, we've heard about it. There's Baltimore, there's places around the country that have brought this kind of, community type of business atmosphere. But this is something that Evanston deserved, considering that's the language we are always speaking. And we talk a good game, and then we come home as generational kids, kids who, our families have been here since the 1800s. And you can say, well, what do we have? I can look at you and say, hey, Aaron, what $1 million black business do you know in Evanston? And the answer will be, you don't know any. There may be millionaires, black millionaires here, but there aren't staples that we can go to that say this has had longevity. This has, been supported by the community for generations. We don't have that. And we wanted that to be here with the component of wellness, because coming out of the pandemic, we were so separated. Everyone wanted to see each other, but we kind of came back in a frame of mind of like, I really don't know you anymore. I haven't seen you in a while. And that's kind of where the Aux name came from. So it's like, what do we need to do to plug in? Yeah. What do we need to get back in? And the aux cord was like that trip to your great grandmother's house down in Mississippi. Before Bluetooth, you had to plug in the auxiliary cord to get that music, to get that beat, to get that feeling, to make that trip. And so that is why the auxiliary cord was the name, and plugging in with the aux is kind of how we came about.
I love it. And it's true. It's like we've been coming through this pandemic, and you're trying to reintegrate yourself into society. And you see people that maybe you met digitally and you've never actually met them in person. I actually had that experience on Saturday night. I was somewhere, and I look at this guy. I'm like, wait a second. I think I had him on my show, but I never actually met him. And I'm like, I guess I should ask to see if it's him. And it was. But it's like, it's a weird phenomenon, big time.
Yes.
So I think it's great that the idea of the name and bringing people together, and you all have grown up here, since your family's been here since the 1800s. So the community so well. And Tosha and Jaqui, you're both police officers. Jaqui, you're in Highland Park. Tosha, you're here in Evanston. I mean, is part of the idea behind this to bring wellness, and it also improves community cohesion, and then in effect reduces crime?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think part of this new generation with the Instagram and the Snapchat and knowing people who've been on your show, but you're not quite sure, is because when we're growing up, we're at the park. Yeah. Jaqui and I live next door. Tiffini's family is close to Jackie's family. We see her. We can touch her. We can, throw dirt on each other, fight in the park, make up in the park. We can do whatever we want together. And now these kids literally will text each other from across the room. They're always on their phones. That's their connection. And so I think that when people know one another, you're able to judge and say, I love her. and I won't fight her, and I'll take care of her. And we used to have things that were sacred in the neighborhood. Like, there was no cursing in front of the church just because that's what you learned, you know?
Yeah.
Now they'll curse in the church. You know, it's like, what are our sacred places and spaces? And, you know, like, for instance, Family Focus had a shooting years ago. That's something that would never, ever happen in the park in the middle of the day with kids running all over the place, because that place was sacred. And then for some reason, we are so disconnected as people, you know, and I mean people in general, not black people or white people, but people. We think we're connected through, you know, all of these platforms of information, but we're less informed than we ever were because we're not actually connected to one another. So when I think that connection brings about community, and community, when you respect it, you have less crime. So the kids that we deal with, they have no care in the world about, you know, life, the sanctity of life, nothing, because they don't feel, you know, loved or welcomed in their spaces. And their spaces are void with the internet and things like, you know, technology.
Yeah. So you're trying to bring that, come back to like a grounding of like something real.
I need to be able to touch you. So if I need to be able to say, come here, and then you can look me in the eyes. I'm like, she might be serious, you know?
Yeah.
We need that again, and we don't have it.
Yeah. Text doesn't just do this, the same type of thing.
No,
huh?
it does not.
Just want to take a quick break here and remind you all that this is an awesome community to live in, Evanston, Skokie, and beyond. But it's getting into the spring market. If you need help with finding a home to live in this great community, you can contact me. I am a realtor here at Dreamtown Realty in Evanston. Email me at aaron@skevinston.com. And also there will be an event on January 19th, the Skevinston Social, where I'm bringing together everybody in this community. And we're going to hear from the economic development leaders of Evanston and Skokie, hearing about what are the cool projects that are going to be taking place. It's going to be happening at Ignite Gaming Lounge in Skokie, which is an amazing, fun place to hang out. And they've got a great party room space that we're going to be in. So make sure to sign up. Go to skevinston.com. You'll find out more. And back to the show. Yeah. So you've got this plan to open up. I mean, how many businesses are currently committed to being part of it? And what are they?
Right now, there are about 10. So let's try to go down this list. So we have the Laundry Cafe. We have Wellbeing Chicago, which is Tiffini and Jabori. We have Embrace Your Crown, which is hair studio for men and women, because hair in the Black community is hugely important to who we are as people and our journey throughout, you know, life. We have Sunshine Enterprises, which is a small business academy. We have The Growing Season, which is Lori Lazar and meditation and yoga and just wellness there. We have Chef Q. I'm trying to think all of these things going down the list in my brain without I need paper in front of me. And Chef Q, who is well known in our community for feeding the homeless during the pandemic. She's a CNN hero. Who am I missing, ladies? Sakana Collective. They are doulas, and they take care of you from before life to the end of life. And that is their mission, to make sure that people are taken care of throughout their entire lives. We're working on some more. I don't want to know if I want to say some food vendors, but we're trying to, you know, get that grounded and hopefully some more wellness components in there.
And then the idea is that these businesses grow to the point where they need to expand out and then get their own building at some point, or that they can stay there for a very long time. Both?
Yes, both.
Okay.
So we also will have pop-up spaces for those folks who can't afford the brick and mortar, but they have the foot traffic that the tenants bring, and then they can now grow out and hopefully get their own spaces in the community and expand. We don't plan on like expanding and saying, okay, we're going to take all this laundry equipment and go somewhere else. You know, we would expand in a different way, but Wellbeing Chicago, the Laundry Cafe, and other tenants are anchor tenants.
And then, and you're trying to get your fundraising right now, correct?
That is correct.
So is it a for-profit company, or how does it all work? And if somebody invests, do they get a return on that?
So this is where we're using a non-for-profit, which usually kind of is structured to keep the wheel of poverty going. But Lori Lazar has the growing season. And what she's going to use is we're using real estate to give people wealth and help with wealth. So the Auxiliary Cord LLC is a for-profit business. This is a for-profit entity. But the growing season is our non-for-profit arm, which you can give philanthropically and to that non-for-profit. And that non-for-profit now currently owns the building, but we'll sell it back to the community. And that is where our investment aspect comes in. So I'm probably not describing this the best way. Jackie's the person for that.
Mix, right?
It's a mix, yeah.
This is totally for profit, right?
Yeah.
Once it's up and running. But currently, the donations go to the non-for-profit that Lori owns. And the building, is in that non-for-profit.
And then the Aux will buy it from that non-for-profit?
It'll go into the Auxiliary Cord LLC.
Okay.
And then the community will own it.
Okay, so the community will own it, meaning anyone who's invested in it is...
No,
or,
so let me back up.
yeah.
You're going to scratch all that.
There is, when it's complete, it'll be worth approximately $1.5 million.
Okay.
That $1.5 million we are raising right now.
Yeah.
So once we actually raise the $1.5 million,
yeah,
it will go into the Auxiliary Cord LLC and be owned by those members who invested. That portion is an investment. The reason I say it's a mix is because that is the only investment portion. Everything up until now has been philanthropic. It's been state money, city money, all donations. And you do not get anything back from that. Only the $1.5 million that is essentially the community owning it.
And are any of the funds from reparations being used to be able to finance this as well?
No.
Why not?
That's what we want to know.
I mean, this seems like a perfect type of use for those funds. Is it because those funds are specifically for individual owners to fix up their houses? Or I thought it could be used for anything that helps make amends for what has been done over the past couple centuries.
Well, it's historically, but with our reparations, to my knowledge, it's specifically to help purchase a home in Evanston or to help with repairs of a home that you already own in Evanston.
Okay.
So it's pretty specific, and I think it's kind of a ongoing where they're tweaking it here and there, hopefully to make it more expansive, where you have more choices on what you use the money for.
Sure.
But right now, that is what it is. But it would be nice if someone could use those monies to buy a piece of the Aux if they'd like to.
Right. I mean, it's all about community investment and bringing generational wealth to the Black community of Evanston, which did not have the opportunity to because of redlining and everything that took place. Right. So this would make sense that if you have a piece of business that can grow in value and create more entrepreneurs and bring more wealth back to Evanston, it would be of huge benefit to all of Evanston. So
All of Evanston, that is correct.
Yes. Well, that's another topic, I guess, to talk about further, but I think that would make a lot of sense.
Absolutely. We were intentional in the investment part of it, because you can buy in for $1,000, and
and anybody can buy in, even if you're white, correct?
Correct. Anyone can buy in. We prefer it to be people here, Evanstonians. We'd love for a lot of people who look like us to buy, but
sure.
Yes, absolutely. White Evanstonian. For me personally, it's all about Evanston, because if you live here or from here and you buy, you're going to patronize the building. People who know you are going to and it helps with the sustainability and longevity of all the businesses in the building.
Right, and if you have ownership of it, you're going to tell everybody you know,
Absolutely.
Hey, if you need a laundromat, you better be going to the Aux. If you need to get yourself in shape, you better go to the businesses over at the Aux.
Exactly.
Like that's what drives people. I mean, we have close to 80,000 people who live in this community, so that's a lot of mouths that can talk.
Right, and $1,000. I mean, that gets you, a share.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is it's $1,000 to get in. but we capped it off at 50,000. So you couldn't put in more than 50,000. But the return is based on what you put in, right? So,
sure.
And we don't know what that return would be, but again, it's for profit. So based off of, the profit of the building, the rent, you would get a return yearly, based off of the 1,000 or 50 in this $1,000 increments. So, it's a small return, but it is a return on the investment portion of it.
Right. And the thing to do is really, it's an investment for the community, like you said. Now, how did you select this location?
We looked and we looked, and it's different, right, than the Sherman Phoenix, because, they, if I'm not mistaken, were actually given that building. Well, they're not giving buildings now. Commercial real estate here.
No, it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. It's not in abundance, so we had to really, really look. We had a location over at, I think it was 1611 Church, but that kind of got pulled from us. So it was kind of difficult finding the location, but we did, and it fit our purposes. It's a little tucked away, but we consider it's going to be our hidden gem.
What would you say is the closest intersection or big store that people would know of where this is near?
It's right behind the Sam's Club in Evanston, and we'll actually have some overflow parking there. But the main cross streets are, it's right between Main and Oakton, just west of Dodge and east of McCormick.
And do you access it through the parking lot by Sam's Club, or do you have to go around the complex?
Currently, you would go down Pittner Alley if you're coming off Main Street, and Hartree if you're coming off Oakton. Okay.
I mean, I see this as a catalyst for more development that will go around it. It's a cool space, and it's like everybody wants to be near there, and then it could build a whole new community, or not. You don't want to replace the community, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of parking by Sam's Club or different places like that. Maybe there's, opportunities to do things within that space as well.
Yeah, we definitely don't. We are part of the community. And so we're not trying to replace anything. We're enhancing where we're at, which gives opportunity to all the businesses around it. It gives the neighbors in the area a space that they can walk to and experience some things that may not currently be in the neighborhood. We are really pushing to make Evanston what it says it is: equitable, walkable, all those things, in addition to being right next to another major business hub.
Yeah. I just, my background's in urban planning, and I just recently finished reading this book all about wellness and health in urban planning over the past, the history of America, really, and looking at all these different plans of walkability and what actually works and what has caused the obesity epidemic, talking about food deserts and everything that's, very, apropos to the conversation today. So I feel like this, a community center, a wellness center, what you're doing is something that would be an example of trying to enhance the health and viability of a community. It's like a little heart in the middle of an area that can kind of create, it just changes the way of your thoughts of what can be possible and to, enhance your health. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about here, even though it's more in an auxiliary location in a way behind the Sam's Club. It brings focus and attention to an area that maybe you didn't think about before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Tasha talks about the heartbeat of the building, because the building next door, Ward Manufacturing, they have some machine that you can, there's a very faint bump that you hear throughout the building that's coming from there. And it's like the ribs, right? Our heart and our body is right behind our ribs. Everybody is always focused on the ribs because it protects the heart. But the body doesn't function without, right? You can break a rib and keep going. Your heart stops. And so that's what the Aux will be to Evanston. It is the heart. We're right in the center of the city. We make the city better.
Yep.
And we are really trying to become that place where the city doesn't function if the heart isn't well. And so we are the heart that's working to attach one heart at a time and make it that much better for the city as a whole.
I love that. And you'll be very successful in what you're doing here, I think. What is the timeline, though? I mean, how much more do you need to raise, and when do you plan to start construction? Because you've purchased the building, correct?
Mm-hmm. So the building has been purchased, and we own that. As Jaqui and Tosha have mentioned, we have raised $5.6 million to date in philanthropy, public funds, et cetera. We've got the 1.5 that we are working on for community equity. The total project cost is $10 million. We would like to have at least 80% of that before we break ground.
Do you think it's possible that you may break ground before then, though, just to get things momentum going? Or is that something you got to hit that threshold?
I think that target is movable, but as we talk about wellness and financial wellness,
don't start
we've
something
got to
until
be
you know you got the
responsible,
money.
right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We've got to be responsible. So what that actual dollar amount will be when we break ground is still TBD.
Yeah.
But ideally, we want to be opening the building first quarter of 2024. And so far, we are still in alignment with that timeline.
That's great. And you've got a design team and a construction team all set up. And, those companies, the construction is Ujama is the name of the company, mm-hmm. and Nia Architects. How did you select those companies? Was it a tough decision?
It was not a tough decision. We were very intentional about everyone that we work with, right? So we are not just focused on the Black business. First of all, we're not just focused on a Black co-development team, primarily. Then it was about the tenants. And then it was about our subcontractors. For me as a co-developer, it's all about opportunity. And in everything with the Aux, we are giving opportunities to Black people that have not always been afforded to us. So we intentionally looked for construction companies that were represented by Black people. We looked for architects who were represented by Black people, media companies, so on and so forth down the line, to give opportunity that is not always readily available.
Yeah. Well, and I was looking on their websites of the projects that they've done, and pretty incredible. So it's another thing that, with this design, and it'll be another great function for the building to show that design to the rest of the community. I mean, this is, and then one other thing, by the way, that we were talking a little bit about before we started talking here, you're probably going to have a podcast studio in there too, right?
We will.
Yes. The Studio Aux.
The Studio Aux. So,
yeah.
And do you think that you're going to have a podcast about the Aux to be able to focus maybe on the businesses there, or is it just going to be a space where people can go and rent it if they want to use it for their own podcast, or both?
It's a both and. Our one of our other co-developers, Jabori Partee Sr., that the Studio Aux will be his podcast space. He is very big about talking about community wellness in all of its forms. So he will be talking about the Aux, community, and then it'll also be a space that people will be able to rent out to host their own podcast, to do recordings, and then also it'll be the sound system that'll be utilized for the space called the Akun in our building.
What's the Akun?
The Akun is an African word that means the belly. So like the gathering space. So in places like Nigeria, you can say they're going to meet in the Akun, which is where the community will meet collectively. So our space that you can have like a baby shower or rent it out for something else, you will have those spaces in the Akun, and that podcast studio becomes the sound system element for that. So we want it to be where people just come, drink coffee, work out, hang out, talk, let's have a human library inside the Aux and get to know people and just things like that. So the Akun is the meeting space. It's the belly.
I love it. I love what you're doing. I mean, I've talked to different people over the years who've been looking at different types of projects like this and been to the different co-working spaces. But what you're doing is it with the wellness focus and everything else, it's just more fun and more it's so interesting, it's fully encompassing of life in a way. So no, I love that. And do you plan to use this as a model to do similar projects in other cities or throughout Chicago, or do you just plan to focus here?
We would love to do this somewhere else. Right now, we have to survive this. This is, I think the beauty of it, in addition to what Tiffini was saying, the intentionality is that we're co-developers of a multi-million-dollar project. We're HR consultants and wellness, coaches and police officers. And now I can say, well, I helped co-develop a $10 million project in Evanston. And so therefore that builds a different resume to say, I know what I'm doing because we did it. And now there have been people who have asked, can you do this here? We're like, we got to do it here first. like give us a second. But we've learned so much together in the last 2 years, whether it's the levels of money, people's wish to do well, but let me connect you to someone else who can help you. We've been in a lot of weird conversations where we're like, hey, I thought it was much easier than this because we're competent and we're smart and we have all these things going for us, and it's still like, not quite yet. So when we think about what's remaining with this 4.5 million, 3 coming from the, philanthropy or community investments, and then you have the 1.5 in our equity, that money in Evanston is probably small change. It really is. And that's actually where you can go to invest, smallchange.co. That wasn't on purpose. But
a little plug.
We know that $3 million around here is easily obtainable, but we can't. It's slow motion. And we're hoping that the community says, you know what, this is something that we want to back. This is where we want people to be. And people to be proud that they were a part of helping get this started. Yeah,
no, I hear that. Now, if people want to learn more or invest, where do they go to do that?
Hey, smallchange.co. And then that gives you everything. It's slides about the project. It's backed by the SEC. So we're not just saying, hey, can you give us some money? Like, these are... your Social Security will be asked for. Like, this is a real deal investment, and it's something you can write off on your taxes or just say that, you've given and donated or invested. These things are something we took very seriously because it's hard to say, hey, you want to invest $50,000, Aaron? And you're like, well, what? Right. So we went and found a company that is highly qualified, and they're backed by the government and all that good stuff to make sure that these investments go directly into our LLC once our nonprofit transfers it over.
Do you have to be an accredited investor?
You can be an unaccredited. Okay. So that's where you can donate up to $2,000, because you can go up to $2,500, but we're only doing it in $1,000 increments. So you can go up to $2,000, and then unaccredited, accredited, you can donate up to the 50.
Okay.
Did I do that right, Jaqui? Because she's a professional at that.
Well, accredited up to 50. Unaccredited, I think, is up to 10,000.
See, told you she was better than that.
Right, so you can put more money in.
Right, and that is for the investment community equity piece. Now,
okay.
If you just want to, help us with the 3 million gap, that's a donation, and that's not small change. Right?
No.
You can't do that on small change. So
that's the growing season.
Okay.
Will get you to both. So you can donate to the growing season, or you can click and get over to small change.
Okay. Well, I think that this is a fantastic project, and I'm looking forward to seeing it open and seeing how you progress. And I just think it's going to be a great thing for the Skev. I mean, you're not too far from Skokie either.
Hey, we welcome Skevinstonians.
Exactly. Well, I love it. So, but I want to thank you all for being here today, for being on the show, and for putting together this project. I mean, this is not something that you think. Someone who's focusing on fitness training and police officers are coming together to do a really cool multi-use commercial real estate development. And I think that's sometimes hard for people to get their heads around, but we need, if anything's taught us, the past couple of years have taught us anything. It's like anything can happen. You can do anything, and the world is just is full of opportunity, and you can do this. So I love it, and thank you.
Thank you so much.